3, 2, 1. Welcome to Strong Personalities. This is your host, Yanni Bear. Today, I am interviewing Andrew Burton, World's Strongest Firefighter 2023. He's just coming back from a 5th place finish at the Shaw Classic. He was also the runner-up at 2024 Arnold's Amateur. So, Andrew, you've been busy these last few years, man. I even know you have a 1st place finish at Nationals 2024 for USSS. You also have a Texas State record. Well, you have a tie for a Texas State record for the axle clean and press at 426 pounds on the 11th rep of the event.
That's right,
dude. How do you deal with like all these events, man? Because like I've kept up with your social media, and you obviously have to have great conditioning. But how do you put it all together to be so consistent from World's Strongest Firefighter to the Arnolds and so on?
You know, you just take it one day at a time and really listen to the body and what it's capable of that day. The only way I can train things is when I'm feeling right. And when I don't feel right, I do conditioning. And that kind of seems like it pushes my body and my mind into the right place. And all the pieces seem to fit together with the way that I programmed. I've recently hired a coach. I'm using Big Laws for the first time ever.
Love that guy. He's awesome. Yeah, I've met him a few times. Yeah.
He programmed me for the Shaw Classic and for regionals coming up. And I felt super strong. And I honestly didn't have to beat myself up the way I've had to before trying to do peaks. His peak was a little bit more nice on my body. So
isn't it great when somebody else takes like the wheel and you trust them to take the wheel?
It is. But it was a little tough giving that up. I love programming, and I also know that the demands on my body are a little bit different because of what my job is. And I think other people have trouble understanding exactly what firemen go through, especially now that I'm working 4896s. So it means I work 2 days and then I'm off 4. But that 2 days can change the entire week.
All right, so let's touch on that. How does that schedule, 4896, what are the good things about it? What are the bad things about it?
Well, the good across the board is that you're off for 4 days. The 48s can get long, but I enjoy them. If you use the first day well, you can come in. You don't generally get about 5 or 6 hours of sleep before that shift, and but that's enough for me to do some work on. I still lift heavy at work. I still do a lot of conditioning at work. I try to do very job specific movements at work. And the second day is a toss-up. You don't know what's going to happen over the night. And if you're up a bunch, you have to do a lot of work that night. Just becomes a cardio day. And anytime that I have days where I don't feel well, I don't do good, I just do cardio. I think that's where a lot of people they miss that opportunity, because cardio doesn't have to be hard, but it is a little tedious.
Yeah. So when you have those rough like shifts, right? Those rough 48s, is that first day of your 96 hours off? Is that just recovery, or are you still trying to catch up on the lifting, or do you just omit any kind of conditioning work to make up for all the extra conditioning you have to do because of your job?
It's just cardio conditioning. So,
yeah,
I'll pick a time frame. I try to do one very long conditioning piece every week. So 45 minutes plus. That day of getting off is a good day to do that. A slow burn opportunity, a time to process what you've done the last 2 days, and a time to reconnect to the days coming.
It's almost like you're giving your body therapy from the trauma from the last 2 days.
You are. And everybody needs that therapy.
So I'm curious. I've seen a lot of your posts. There's a lot of numbers that you keep track of. Do you think you're the most well-conditioned super heavyweight? Because I don't see anybody else doing as much conditioning work as you do.
I don't think there's anybody who can hold a candle to the things I've done. I don't want to come off as, a butt about it, but I've done Spartan races. I've done Tough Mudders. I put challenges in front of myself and I reached them. I ran a 4.9 40 meter dash. At one point I ran a mile in 6.5 minutes.
How much were you weighing at the time?
About 290.
Yeah. My 40's a week. And I'm at 292. So there you go. So you're definitely one of the more well-conditioned athletes. Do you think that negatively impacts your strength level at times?
I think it adds to it.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, the ability to be able to recover from a heavy session is the only thing that's holding people back. And when you see people who hit heavy sessions back to back to back, week after week, day after day, the thing in my head is like, how can they ever recover? And if you don't do the recovery portion, you're just wasting your time pulling those numbers. Because if your body never recovers, those muscles never get bigger. They never heal from those little micro tears and things in there. You either get injured and it takes you back however long it takes you back, or you just never heal and you never grow.
So let's talk about the Shaw Classic. You were in the open. You got 5th place. You were actually in 1st place for like a day and a half, right?
I was.
Okay. Were you surprised? Was this expected? Yes. Like what?
No.
What? Give me the emotions through the events.
Day one was the whole goal was to be in top 10. And I managed to end that day off in 1st place by a point, I believe, between me and 2nd place.
Okay.
And I was just ecstatic because I knew there was some stuff coming up that I wasn't going to be very good at compared to some of these guys who have, storied histories with circus dumbbell and people like Nick who are just super fast on moving events. He took those that power stair implement up in like 30 something seconds. It was insane to watch. And I took almost every bit of 60 seconds to try to finish.
So you had the lock clean and press for reps, the farmer's medley, and then the sandbag Husafel torque tank medley. And I've pushed one of those. The harder you push, the harder it pushes back.
Yeah.
That was day one.
That was day one.
You ended up with 1 point, in 1st place.
Yeah, the torque tank and the Husafel and all that. I got 1st on that.
I bet you that just felt like another day at work.
I pushed those torque tanks before. My very first strongman competition, I actually tore a muscle off my foot on the 1st event on the 1st implement.
Oh,
it was at the Europa in like 2023 maybe or something.
Yeah.
Like that. But I tore my foot, and one of the events on the 2nd day was pushing a torque tank. So I pushed it with 1 foot and still got 7th. So I knew it wasn't going to be a problem.
Yeah. So then day 2, we got the circus dumbbell for reps and then the power stairs. We kind of touched on power stairs before. How did that day go?
Power stairs, I thought was going to be my best event. Ended up being one of my worst.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, the implements were very difficult. There's some technique things I need to fix now that I know how the implements should be moved. But the circus dumbbell went so much better than expected. I wanted 1 rep at that 225. I ended up with 3, which is a huge personal best for me. I've struggled with circus dumbbell in contests for 2 years now.
What was different about this time that you were able to exceed the expectations you had for yourself?
I have really worked very hard on where my positioning is, and that positioning seems to be working for me. I've got a much more extreme lean to the left, and I'm using 1 arm instead of 2. That's one people told me before to stop messing with because I would do it on both sides.
Oh, so you just committed to one side is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I rarely see people do both arms unless they're just like what's his name? The guy from Ukraine won it in 2020.
Oleski?
Huh?
Oleski?
No.
No, Novikov?
Novikov in that 2020. I remember he was just like and I was just like,
that's what I want to do. I like
your goal?
I like the ability to be able to use both arms for the same thing. So that's one thing I will work on in the future. But for right now, just being able to get reps in a competition is a huge change for me.
And then day 3, max Hummer tire deadlift, and then Atlas stones. That's day 3. So how'd that go?
Deadlift went fantastic. I hit a 20 or a 50-pound PR from the Arnold. I tried to pull 950 at the Arnold, didn't make it, and then at the Shaw, I pulled 950 on that implement, which was awesome. I love seeing my deadlifts go up. And then stones, this was the first time I've done a stone run in a contest. Never made it to a stone run ever. Yeah. I was super stoked to have been able to load that 400-pound stone. I learned a crap ton about tacky and some things that I need to work on. I learned a lot, big time. So
that's the Shaw Classic is a heck of an event or a show for you to be doing stones for the first time.
Yeah.
But what year did you start Strongman?
I'm going to be honest, Yoni. I think it's been around 3 years. So 2021.
2021, I think, is when I started seeing you in the circuit. But I think part of the reason, because I still to this day, and it's not because I'm trying to choose competitions without them, it's just you and I came into Strongman when the big sandbag craze came in.
Yeah.
Because it was easier for people to work with sandbags than try to get stones made. So I think it's partial luck and timing of like when we came in, because I'm still looking for the first competition to do, stones. It's either usually the competitions that do have them have been really far, or they just don't line up with my schedule. So I feel you there. But yeah,
I'd like to see more amateur shows use let the athletes use tacky, because that was the big change for me. Is being actually able to load a stone requires some learning with the tacky, and a lot of those amateur shows don't want you using it. I think just because it's messy.
Yeah, it's messy. They don't have the experience. The athletes don't have the same experience as like the pros on how to put it on, remove it quickly, and so on. I get it, but you're right. It would be cool to see it a little bit more often. Yeah. So when your original goal was top 10 at the Shaw Classic, you got 5th. What were the things that kept you from potentially hitting the podium? And what were the things that you learned about yourself at this competition?
Experience is really the main thing. It seems to come up over the years. It's just experience in these events, going up against people who've done them so many times, and confidence in the events. That's which comes with the experience. And then with Colorado, you have the elevation factor is something I'm well aware that I get very elevation sick. And so almost every event after I would do it, I would end up with a splitting headache and some form of nausea. The third day, I felt the best going into the events, but on the first deadlift, I got right back to where I was. and the elevation is just very hard to overcome. It'll make you feel like garbage.
Okay, so experience when it comes to the heights, and then just what were you when it comes to your mental game since the first day you started in Strongman to the Shaw Classic, at the end of the Shaw Classic? What's something that you're proud on your mental game growth?
The confidence to walk into an event, even if you don't think you're going to do that great, and giving it 100%. That's from the first day, because when you start Strongman, you're a little worried about injuries. You're worried about techniques and flaws that are going to come up with your technique. I don't worry so much about that anymore because I have some experience. I've gained some experience with these events, and I can go out and give 100%, and that's where the big changes come.
I love that. The confidence definitely goes up the more experienced you are. What is your proudest moment in Strongman to date?
Proudest moment? There's so many.
Oh, there's got to be one, though.
Man.
Yeah, there's only one proudest moment, one biggest accomplishment, or something that you're just, most proud of.
Man, I think to date right now is probably that 426-pound axle press I did at the Battle Axe Barbell this last year. That me and Tommy Sharp now share the Texas state record for. It was fun to watch the training come together and to put up some big weights, and with somebody who has, I don't know, 100 pounds less, weighs 100 pounds less than me. It's always phenomenal watching those athletes perform. How
much do you weigh? Like, what do you walk around with right now?
Generally, I'm around 310, but I went to the Shaw, not Arnold. Went to the Shaw at about 330.
Okay. How do you, because I've noticed, like, again, like looking through your social media, I've noticed that like the body composition has changed because you've gained weight, but you've also, it's been, I feel like, a majority muscle. I don't know if you do a body composition test or anything to verify that, but I feel like a lot of the weight that you have gained since you started has been like solid muscle. How do you balance gaining weight and then maintaining a certain amount of health, not only just for daily living, but for your grueling job as a firefighter?
I do it slow. That's where I think a lot of people get messed up with that. I'm very cautious with the way I eat. I like to eat fish once a week. But that's a very low calorie meal. So I add twice as much carbs to it. I might eat a sweet potato and 500 grams of rice. So I do those things slow. Weight is one of those things you don't want to play with. You don't want to just put it on with Twinkies and ice cream and all those nasty things that they're not going to help any of your, blood factors. They're not going to help your overall health. So I do it slow.
What's a typical day for you when it comes to eating? And then how does it differentiate between like when you're on shift and when you're off shift?
When I'm on shift, I eat it with the crew. I don't make them bow down to the way that I eat. I just will buy some, extra rice packets or something to have the extra calories. And then I have like my supplements. I have some snacks, some high calorie snacks like nuts, fruits, things of that nature. And then when I'm at home, it really is dependent upon what the goal is, where I'm at in training or what contest is coming up. And I will be anywhere from about 5,000 calories maintenance to about 8,000 or 9,000 calories going into a contest.
5,000 is maintenance. That's an expensive grocery bill, man.
Yeah, I'm 2 hours of moving every day at least. That's walking, cardio, conditioning, going to the store, just doing odd everyday things. So when you move around 300 pounds at that weight, it takes a little bit extra calories to get to the maintenance.
All right, so we're done with the Shock Classic, and we're coming back to OSG South West Regionals. Last year, you competed, and I believe you got second.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I was very proud of that second.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So, who beat you?
Big Dom.
Oh, yeah.
Dominic Cricky. Dominic Cricky is one of the strongest people I have ever been around face to face.
How do you like having a 3-day event at the Shock Classic versus some of these competitions like regionals, nationals, and where it's all in one day?
Well, I mean, I have feelings about it. If it is a regional qualification, and I get that people feel very strongly about OSG, but my personal opinion is those contests should be one day. I'll tell you exactly why. It's very costly for people, and I feel like it takes some people out of the contest who don't have enough money or time off of work to go and travel and do some of that stuff. I'm very fortunate with my schedule that I can do most things.
Yeah.
So these I'm going to use a term, and I'm using it very loosely. These lower level contests,
yes,
I think should be one day that brings in the maximum amount of people. And 2-day events, I mean, they're just taxing. For me, for my wife,
on the wallet, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's double the cost. And if you're talking about hotel rooms, if you're talking about flights, it's just expensive.
So anything that's regionals or lower, you feel like it should just be one day.
My personal opinion is that they should be one day. And
then anything that's worlds or anything like that.
When you're talking about the high level of this sport, then absolutely. When you're trying to earn a world title, when you're trying to earn some sort of, title that's going to come along with those should test you a little bit more. But they should still be conscious of the wallet, because these are normal people at the end of the day. They have jobs, and that's how they support these sports.
Sometimes when I hear about like what people do on the for their full-time job, it kind of reminds me of the stories. Are you a big NFL fan?
I don't watch a lot of pro sports.
Oh, okay. So I love football. Like, I don't know why, just I grew up with soccer, taekwondo, and everything, but football, for whatever reason, has always had my heart. But it was always cool reading about the old time NFL players that literally they were like plumbers and mechanics. Monday through Saturday, they would have practice like once or twice, and then they would put on their leather helmet. I feel like we're in that kind of phase of strongman because now I feel like in the last 10 years is when you really started seeing people being able to really fully commit to the sport and make money off of it, either through sponsors or anything. There's enough money now where people can make a living, not maybe lavish living, but still a living doing a sport.
That's my thought on the process. There's not enough money in this at this point for everybody to get their piece of the pie. So we have to be, cognizant of that and, do what we can to help the sport grow. Let the most amount of people attend. I feel like one-day contests is a way to do that.
No, I agree. I really like that breakdown, like regionals level and lower, do a one-day event. And then obviously once you get to the worlds and higher, then you can do multiple days.
Do what you need to. Three days, like it doesn't matter. If there's 6 events in a day, like that just makes it better for me because my conditioning is so high. Everybody else gets trashed, and here I am still rolling along. The 3 days was getting to that point. I felt like a lot of people were starting to get pretty tired, and I was feeling the best. My best feeling I had was on day 3 of the Shaw.
Yeah, because you finally got acclimated.
Yeah, some form of acclimation.
That's a strategy that a lot of people don't put enough time thinking about. Because again, we talked about nationals in Denver this past year. The number one issue I saw is either people didn't time when they flew in, and they underestimated how dehydrated they were going to be because of the elevation and the dryness of that area. All right, so you've mentioned vacation time and everything. I remember talking to you at last our 2024's nationals here in Dallas, and I was talking to you and your wife, and I was asking you what was going to be up next, and I think your wife said, hopefully us not using PTO for another competition. Did y'all finally use that PTO for an actual vacation that was not strongman related?
Yes, we did. We went to Switzerland.
Oh, that is gorgeous. How'd you like Switzerland?
It was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Why'd y'all pick Switzerland?
This was kind of her choice to pick. I picked Iceland the first time we did international travel. We try to go international once every 2 years because it's pretty expensive.
You so did that for strongman reasons, though.
Well, Iceland, yeah. Well, no,
pictures. Don't lie to me.
It's always been on my list, but we did go pick up some rocks. We did pick up some rocks. That was definitely on the list, but it got us to places that were off the beaten path. It's exactly how we like to do vacations.
Good. So, and y'all like cool places, Switzerland, Iceland. I'm noticing a trend.
Yeah, New Zealand's probably next.
Huh?
New Zealand's probably next. We like the islands.
Are y'all gonna? Are either of y'all Lord of the Ring fans?
Oh, I'm a huge Lord of the Ring fan.
Yeah. I was like, it's got to be a Lord of the Rings thing because most people can't even place New Zealand on a map.
Yeah, New Zealand's one of the most beautiful places out there.
Oh, 100%. 100% agree. But I love that. When's New Zealand being planned for?
That would probably not this year, or not next year either, because we just did Switzerland. So 2026 is the theoretical date that might happen. Okay.
So before we get to New Zealand, we got Southwest Regionals. How do you feel you're going to do this year at Southwest Regionals here in Mesquite? The promoter for this is Derek and Shelly Owens, and it's going to be live streamed on by ADL.
Man, I've done well at these regionals before. I know one of the competitors specifically that's going to come, and then you just really never know who's about to show up because every year somebody new comes on the scene and is makes big waves. So I'm not going to give any kind of placement, but I'm going to go give it 100% of what I have. So, I mean, I'm still healing from the Shaw, but
yeah, cause it's only a week break.
It's 6 days. Yeah.
What did Big Loss say about these competitions being so close to each other?
He asked which one I was more interested in doing well in. I told him regionals was the first one on my list to qualify for OSG. So we put a lot more effort onto those events. And I came in really strong at the Shaw. So I feel like what he had set up for me is going to play really well in the regionals. But there's some athletes coming along too. Seth Sukup is going to come and he's going to do really well. And I love competing against Seth. So I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table.
Yeah, because man, Seth, I feel his kryptonite's always been like a sandbag toss.
Grip events, I think, are one of his weak ones, but I know he's been working on it.
Yes, him and his brother are.
Man, Alec.
Yeah, just
Alec won.
Yeah, I saw that. But for me, my favorite athletes to follow are always just the ones that just show that kind of consistency when it comes to the work that they put in. Like sometimes, just depending on who shows up, it changes a lot of like who wins and who doesn't. But man, like when people just show that work ethic and they're just like great guys to be around, those are you're a perfect example of that. You're somebody who I feel like exemplifies like putting in the hard work, doing your best on the day of a competition, and then I've never seen you upset or anything like that. You've always been a nice guy. So those are my favorite athletes. But those two, have you ever thought about training with them?
I would love to. They talked about coming to Battle Axe. They came down before the Shaw. I just happened to be at work and had to miss that. So, but they invited me.
Yeah, way to be saving people's lives and skipping a workout. Jeez.
I thought real hard about taking off, but I mean, I've already had to take off so much.
Has Strongman improved the quality of work that you're able to provide as a firefighter?
Oh, absolutely. any
Yeah.
type of competition is going to drive you to be better. And if you're better at anything, you're going to be better at firefighting. It is at its core, a blue collar job that requires training and physical preparedness.
Did you lift anything, like, let's say year 1 of Strongman versus year 3 of Strongman at your job, and you're like, it clicked that how much stronger you've gotten since day 1 as a Strongman athlete?
I keep the first sandbag I ever bought at the station. It's a 260. I think I got it at 268 right now.
Yeah.
And I've just keep added weight like 20 pounds at a time as I got better. But now that 268 number is just so trivial and nobody else can pick it up. Nobody else can even come close.
It's like the firefighter who's a fell stone.
Yeah. And I like putting it in places where they have to walk over it or something. So they always know what they're they're dependent on me. And I want to remind them they're dependent on me to pick it up.
I like how you flex on your team like that. So is Seth your biggest competition when it comes to winning regionals?
As far as known athletes, yes, because Dominic moved up north. I think he's already qualified for OSG. I think he already did his contest. But yeah, as far as the people who I know that are coming, Seth is the killer that's coming. What's
the goal for OSG?
I'd like to make the top 10. That way I don't have to do these regionals every year. Get my invite back. That would be nice. And that would be fun to do another stone event at another big contest. Top 10 is my goal, especially with the caliber of athlete that OSG brings in. Those guys are so stinking strong. I had no clue what I was walking into last year, but that experience will benefit me now because I know to expect to wait considerably longer between events than I was really comfortable with. And, not to be afraid to walk off for a little bit. Gosh, we sat there for so long for some of those events.
Yeah, it takes a while because it's literally world. So it's like everybody around the world that can compete. Yeah. So there's no divisions that have, like 5 each one of them is going to have at least 30 plus. So
full up and full up with some phenomenal athletes. I couldn't believe the people I was going to compete against.
Who was your favorite athlete that you finally got to meet in person at Worlds and then seeing them compete up close?
Mark Felix. And I just in passing, just said hi. Yeah. And I've always loved him with his grip abilities. I love having a good grip. That's one thing I've always have fun training. So I like watching, him. And I also like the fact that he's over. The reason I got into Strongman is because of the amount of athletes at the top level that were over 50. Nick Best, Mark Felix. I want longevity in a sport. I want something that I can do long term. And powerlifting was not it. I attempted CrossFit at one point, but never could get out of the local scene. I wanted to be the first 300-pound CrossFitter to make it to the games. I spent 3 years trying to attain that goal and just had to, eat crow on that one.
Yeah.
Strongman and was like, man, look at all the diversity here. Look at these athletes that are considerably older in their 40s or 50s. That sounds like something I would be interested in. And that's when I went and tried that first battle axe contest I met you at. And that was, I think, one of my first ones to figure out if I wanted to do it or not.
That you fell in love.
Yeah, and now I've just enjoyed the process, enjoyed having a goal, and that's how I've always liked doing things. I went a long time without a goal for a while, so it was nice to put something to me to be able to attain.
Do you have an athlete, a professional strongman athlete, either present, current, or in the past that you compare to? Like you're like, okay, body type or just strength and weaknesses. Like, is there somebody that you kind of see yourself reflected in?
Not necessarily. I know that some of those guys they were so cut up and very strong and very athletic. Man, I couldn't compare myself to those guys yet.
All right. What's holding you back from winning Worlds? Like, what's your biggest weakness? Yeah. What's your biggest
experience? We're still talking about experience here.
Experience. Okay.
I have 2 years of experience, like good, solid experience. The first year of Strongman, I was like blind. Trying to figure out how to train for events, how events worked, breaking down the movements. And it took that first year just to really solidify the way that I needed to change my training. And that was the time period I was moving away from the CrossFit. So I was doing, lots of reps, high intensity, every workout that does not work for this, especially when you talk about strength sports. So I had to, go back to the board and fix the way that I was doing my programming, find new techniques, do lots of reading. I love to read about strength athletes. I utilize Elite FTS a lot and their YouTube channel to get information. They do a lot of powerlifting. So it's just had to change over time. The only thing holding me back is experience. When you talk about the people who are winning that, you see people who are 5+ years in the sport. I'm not there yet.
And you're bridging that gap with the hiring of Big Loss, because that dude's probably forgotten more strongman than you and me combined have learned in the last 3 years.
I'm really excited to see how that goes along. He was I didn't want a coach that was going to treat me like, I'm trying to think of even the right way to say this. I didn't want a coach that was over the top. I'm very critical of myself already. I'm my biggest critic, and Laws isn't going to be that way.
No,
that's the type I need. I need somebody who has information about why whatever's happening is happening, not just, hey, get better.
Yeah, because you already know you need somebody that balances you out. I feel like Big Laws is the type. The first time I met him was at the last Clash competition. And then one of my favorite moments that he backed up what he had talked to me about, which was he's constantly making sure that he's responding to his athletes like within that same day that he gets a call and a message. We were at Worlds during the athletes meeting where everybody was asking the questions, and that you remember that thing was dragging, and he was in the row in front of us, and he was straight up just like, you know what? I'm going to start calling and I'm going to start watching the videos for my athletes. So he was doing that in the middle of the rules meeting because he's like, these questions are unnecessary. I'm going to focus on what's important right now. So he started getting back to his athletes. So I'm super excited to see what y'all do together, man.
Me too.
All right. So I want to touch on a few things. In a second, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to focus on a couple of pictures, and I want to know what the feelings were, what you were thinking, or if there's any little story behind the pictures that I'm about to show, okay? So give me 1 second. I like the fact that you seem to work out everywhere, either at home, at Battle Axe Barbell, or at the station. Have you ever accidentally hit or broken anything at the station while you're training with the sandbag toss?
Absolutely not. I've been very, very careful with my placement of things. I already get a little bit of flack, so I try to be cognizant of that fire station and to leave it as nice as I found it for the next guys, because it is a nice station. I'm very happy that they've put as much as they have in that fire station. It's a beautiful place.
Do you mind sharing where you live and what station you work out of?
I work in Rockwall Fire Department. I live in the Rockwall area.
Okay.
I've been with Rockwall for a little over 7 years now.
That's so dope. Yeah, every time I see you post this, I'm like, that's such a cool. It makes me think of like the Street Fighter games. You know how they always have that crazy background or whatever. Yep. Your background, if you were a Street Fighter, would be the fire station. All right. All right. This is a picture of when you won World's Strongest Firefighter. I want to know, what were you thinking? What were you feeling in this moment?
That was right after we'd won. The announcements got made, the trophies got handed out, and I had, up to this point, anytime that I'd won, not been very good about getting out of the critical state that I can let my head get into. And I told myself at this contest, if you win, you need to be in the moment. And that face right there is a man who's in the moment, who's trying to see the crowd, who's trying to hear what they're saying, listening to the applause, and just realizing that the hard work had all led up to this moment. And, that hard work was something that I put in. Nobody else can claim that title for that year. That was all me, all that work, all that build up for that one moment. And seeing my wife too in the crowd, she was very proud, and letting her see the culmination of all that work, some of that missed time that we have together, some of those meals that we couldn't eat together, come to this moment was real big.
I love that. All right, give me a second. I'm going to pull up one more. All right, so you got to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I did.
All right. Did you get to talk to him at all, or was it one of those like quick, like he gave you like the, like his usual quick little speech when he's giving out the trophies to the athlete, or how was that experience, man?
he was awesome, and he gave me, it wasn't long. There's a lot of people in the Arnold that want his attention, but he gave me about two or 3 minutes where it was just him and I chatting back and forth. But he said, the way he started that whole conversation was, "You made that weight look like it weighed 5 pounds." And I was like, "Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was the goal." So, we got to communicate for a few minutes, just him and I. No I say no cameras, no microphones, just between him and I. And that was very special. It was very nice of him to do that. Something I did not expect.
So, obviously, how old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay, so we're around the same era. Do you have a movie that you always associate with your childhood and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Always. And they asked us at that contest what our favorite movie was so they could announce it to the crowd. And I told them mine was Jingle All the Way, and it was one of the only ones they didn't tell.
What?
And I love Jingle All the Way.
Oh my God. What was the guy's name? Sinbad. Yeah, Sinbad was in it.
That was in it, yep.
Turbo Man. We were talking about Turbo Man.
Turbo Man. Gosh,
all right. I love that. All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up one more. All right. What is going on here? We have a firefighter dodgeball game.
It was so hard to get this footage, but we played this game as a consumption drill. Just utilize it. Man, when you talk about firemen, you're talking about a whole bunch of different personalities. But the one thing you can say about all of them is they're all competitive. We are all competitive in some form. We want to beat each other at the station. I want to eat more than them. I want to clean the bathroom before they do. Whatever it is, I want to put the fire truck, pull it out and go through all the pump testing before they do. So this was a consumption drill that our chief came up with to, just kind of let us blow off some steam. We'd had a lot of really boring trainings up to this point, and so he wanted to get us out, get us active. And this school was slated to be demolished, so we went there. We did got in some doors, some forcible entry, and then some search and rescue, and then we got to come down here and do this as a team.
This looks so fun. Did you win?
I think we did. I think our group did. I honestly don't remember, but I remember having a good time. I hope he does it again this next year.
Yeah, that looks like a lot of fun. I was looking through it. I was like, wait, what is going on?
I asked him if I could take a video of this and post it, and I was fortunate enough for him. It was one of the few times that my chiefs have said yes to anything. So.
Oh, did they say no a lot just because they're so strict on what's allowed and what's not allowed?
Yeah.
Hey, when it comes to fighting fires and the dangers that y'all are dealing with, I can see why you have to be so strict. All right, man. So real quick, this is my last question. You've talked a lot about your wife being there for you. Who else makes up the support system that's helped you accomplish a lot of what you have accomplished in life, not just in strongman, but just in your career and so on?
Like career specifically, or just
just who makes up the support system that helps you achieve things that you couldn't do by yourself?
I'll kind of throw this into maybe a broader spectrum, but just the people who were my role models growing up. A lot of them come from the Boy Scouts. I didn't grow up with a father figure in the picture, and so I found a lot of my father figures in the Boy Scouts, people who taught me what it meant to be a man and what it meant to be a good person. And I bring that to the fire service, and I try to do that for these other young men that are coming up in the service. And when it comes to strongman, I'm also trying to be that role model for those guys too. There's a very heavy emphasis on competition, but at the end of the day, you still need to be able to shake your competitor's hand. You need to be able to look them in the eye, and you need to be able to tell them they did a good job.
Dude, see, this is why I love you, man. You're awesome. I'm so glad we met all those years ago at the Battle Axe Showdown. Thanks, man. Thank you so much for jumping on to Strong Personalities. We go back 3 years, and I'm so excited to see how far you've come and how far you're going to go into the sport. I feel like you represent the best of strongman, and I hope you get to shine in bigger and bigger shows. And speaking of bigger shows, I will see you this weekend in Mesquite as I will be emceeing the show. Just make sure you're ready because I run a tight ship once I start that show. So, man, thank you so much. Keep resting up since you've had back-to-back competitions, Shaw Classic, and now the Southwest Regionals. Thank you so much, Andrew. Take care, bud.
Thank you, Yoni.